Now and call the Livingston Municipal Planning Commission meeting to order, and I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. We have a special thing going on tonight. We have a young man that might have a birthday coming up, and I'm just wondering who that might be. Would anybody know? Right offhand?
Young man sitting here.
Okay. Anyway, Tommy, happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Item number 2, approval of September the 23rd, 2019 minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Second. All for, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. There is none. Thank you. Item number 3, consideration of final subdivision plat for property located on South Church Street, South Spring Street, Little Street, West Cedar Street, Steel Coop Division.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a 3-lot subdivision plat subdividing .78 acres for property located on South Church Street, South Spring Street, Little Street, and West Cedar Street. It is the Steel Coop Restaurant being subdivided into 3 different parcels presented by Wittenberg Surveying. Lot 1 would consist of .29 acres, an existing residential structure. Lot 2 would consist of .12 acres and an existing structure. Lot 3 would consist of .37 acres and an existing structure, and I'm sorry, I made a mistake on Lot 1. I said an existing residential structure. It's actually just an existing structure there, so apologies for that. Lot 3, .37 acres and an existing structure. Proposed new lots are Zone C2, Central Business District, and in this district there is no minimum lot size, setbacks, or parking requirements. So that's, none of that is going to apply here. The proposed lots are served by an existing 4-inch water line, 8-inch sewer line, and would comply with all other subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance requirement. Mr. Wittenberg is here to represent the Industrial Development Authority, which is the owner of the property, and he is available for questions if y'all have any, or you can address the questions to me, however you want to do it.
Thank you, Tommy. Mr. Wittenberg?
Wittenberg.
Okay. All right. Sir, you go right ahead.
So essentially what the client is wanting to do is they're paying taxes on, there's actually parcels 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And what they're wanting to do is take the restaurant itself. So the Steel Coop, I don't know if you have ever heard of it. It's a little restaurant down over here. They've got an event center. And they're wanting to take the event center and the restaurant and divide the two. Now, if you drive by there and look at it now, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's one building anyway. But what they've done over time is, if you look close, there's actually 2 separate buildings. There was an alleyway between them. They blocked off the alleyway, and inside of what now is an alleyway is actually where some of the refrigeration and some of the other equipment is. And they want to be able to utilize the refrigeration system and the facilities that are in that common area, and both the event center and the restaurant have access to that. So essentially what they're doing is creating a plat that they can do verbiage that says Lot 3 has access to Lot 2, Lot 1 has access to Lot 2, and they'll have maybe potentially have separate owners for the event center or the restaurant. But they're basically doing this for just legal purposes, for one to have access to the other common area. Yeah.
So in essence, Mr. Chairman, Lot 1 would be separate, Lot 3 would be separate, and Lot 2 would kind of be common?
Correct.
Ownership or common, who would own Lot 2?
I
do
think
you have any?
That the Industrial Development Agency would still own all 3 at the time, and then if they ever decided to sell one off, they would still retain like an access easement or use easement on 2.
So basically, it sounds like they're just dividing it for maybe tax purposes.
Tax purposes, or just the word easement come up a lot whenever we were talking, to where they would have access, to that common area, and the common area was the central focus of the conversation. So it made sense to me that maybe for the event center that they would need the refrigeration system to store drinks and, food and stuff in.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have to worry about a structure ever being put there. It's not feasible for
No.
someone to squeeze an apartment in there.
No.
Or something like that on lot 2.
Any other clarifications?
Any discussion? Members here? Any discussion of this? No?
It appears to me to be a reasonable request, but does the city have any concerns about it moving forward in this, the way it's proposed? Okay, thank you.
They've, both lot 1 and 3 have separate water meters and separate gas meters as is already.
The structures are as one building, so there's no building in between. I mean, it's all closed in, it has a garage door that they're using to enter that area, so it appears that it's one total unit, and it's gonna be divided into 3.
Now, looking at this lot 2, is this access to both the left and right? Access to 1 and 3 through the 2 there?
Yeah.
So that'll be
Yeah.
open all the time for the,
Yeah, like he said, there's a garage door that is on the west side of 2. And then once you get inside that garage door, there is access doors that go to 3 and 1. And what you can tell, there's actually there's a party wall on the south and the north side of lot 2. And what they did was they put they roofed it and put the exterior wall in between it. So
there's actually a building there.
not really. They just basically, they had 2 boxes sitting side by side, and then they built walls that closed those 2 boxes off and created an interior.
But it has a roof.
And then they took the roof from, I think it was 1, and extended it over to 3. When you drive by, look at it, the roof line, and then you can see the break in the block line. So,
okay. Any more discussion? Anyone? Tommy, had everything?
Meets all our requirements, Mr. Chairman. Recommend approval.
Okay. Y'all have heard the recommendation from Tommy and
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
motion. We have a motion by Jean. Second. Who was? Second by Kelly. Okay. All for, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're moving down here pretty quick. Item number 4, other business if necessary.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a request by Surveyor David Sales to add an item to the agenda, and I just received this yesterday, and usually I wouldn't recommend that we look at something, but this is something that we've already seen before. It's a preliminary, it's a resubmission of a preliminary plat that we have already approved. And basically what has happened is after they've got the soils work done, they've had to adjust some lot lines on there. So the lines have not, or you haven't increased or decreased any lots, right, David?
We did lot number 1 and 2 increased 0.9 acres, 0.09, and that's about, I can't tell what this says on there, 20, and lot number 14 got a little bit smaller. It went from 4.14 acres to 3.96. Lots 1 and 2 went from 0.46 acres to 0.55 acres. And that's that eastern line back there where the little place is in the middle right there. And the Tennessee Environment Conservation said we had to make those lots a little bigger to get a septic tank on them. It's why it got moved. And if you want, I will come up there and
Yeah, this is a plat, Mr. Chairman, that we saw, 6-8 months ago, David?
5 months ago.
Yeah, somewhere around in there. We had given it preliminary approval, and our regs state that any change in the plat, other than just something very minor, you have to resubmit your preliminary subdivision plat. Like I said, we've already seen it, we've already given it approval. Lots 1 and 2 are getting slightly bigger. Lot 14 is getting slightly smaller. And David gave the numbers, and if you would, just one more time so I can write them down, would you let me know?
Lot 1 and 2 went from 0.46 acres to 0.55 acres. And lot 14 went from 4.14 acres to 3.96 acres.
Please repeat lot 14.
Lot 14, 4.14 acres original, 3.96 acres current.
Again, Mr. Chairman, the purpose of that is to make sure that lots 1 and 2 had a suitable soils area. It looked like the rest of them, David, lots 3 through 13, or actually lots 3 through 14 had ample soils area.
Correct.
And lots 1 and 2 did not, and thus that's why the adjustment of those 3 lots. So, just
Okay, any more discussion with this? Well, Tommy?
Yes.
Do we need to go back through the approval this second time around, don't we?
yes, we need to consider, if you all want to. Now, I mean, he's not on the agenda, he's making a special request, and the only reason that I think we should potentially look at it is because we have seen it before. This is not something totally new to us. And another reason is because, usually we don't meet in December just because of its proximity to the holidays. Mr. Cox is kind of wanting to try and, I'm guessing, get this done and recorded before the end of the year. Thus, if we look at it tonight and preliminarily approve it, we can review it again in November for final, pending that all infrastructure is in and that the irrevocable letter of credit has been submitted. So I think this would help them out. And again, it's not something that I haven't seen before or the board hasn't seen before. It's a resubmission. If this was new business, I don't think I would recommend that we look at it tonight.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. David, another good job on what you do for us here. All the
Thank you.
plats you bring in are very nice. Okay, after we've heard everything, I'm going to need a motion that it be approved.
I move we approve this.
Motion by Robert, to approve, I need a second.
Second.
I'll second. My light didn't come on.
Second. All for, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. There is none, and motion carries. Thank you. Okay, if no other business at all, Robert, do you have anything?
No.
Matilda? No. Phyllis?
No.
Good.
No.
Joe? Vicky, man?
No.
Kelly? No, sir. Okay. Okay, thank you all, and I'm gonna need a motion.
One thing that Phyllis and I had kind of talked about just before the meeting, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention and maybe potentially get it on the record is we've never really had a submission date for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and thus we've had, you know, applications turned in right beforehand, and we're trying to get some continuity. That way everybody knows kind of when the deadline is and when the meeting is, and pending some kind of objection from the mayor or the council, we're thinking of having a drop dead date of 10 days before the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for the deadline for the application, making all BZA meetings be the fourth Monday of each month immediately following the Planning Commission. And if anybody has any comment on that or objections, I'll certainly listen to it.
I have a quick question, Tommy. You mentioned the BZA. Well, does the Planning Commission also have a drop dead deadline? And if so, what is it? Because I'm new and I don't recall knowing that date.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Coleman, let me, typically it's 7 days to submit something. Yeah, and it just says at least 7 days prior to the meeting at which is to be considered, the subdivider shall submit to the Livingston City Hall or to the staff planner copies of any plat or proposed subdivision. And we haven't really been going by that either, but we normally don't turn away. So we've treated everybody fairly. You know, it's not like if someone came up, well, like David, dropped one off yesterday, and I considered, you know, we said we would bring it up for consideration. We'd do that for anyone. We've done it multiple times. But I would have no problem if we wanted to start going by that, because it makes my job easier.
Well, I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just not sure I understand why you would propose us or the BZA adopting a 10-day in advance deadline as you called it, drop dead deadline, and not hold a certain deadline for our committee, which is Planning Committee as well. And help me understand why you would do one for one and not the other, or why we propose that.
Absolutely. So the reason that I would just certainly advocate for it on behalf of the BZA is because we have to, each meeting of the BZA is a called meeting. They don't have a regular meeting like the Planning Commission does. And we have to advertise, and everything that comes in front of the BZA has to have a public hearing for it. So whether it's a variance or a special exception or an appeal of the codes enforcement officer, the public has a right to come and voice their opinion on all those matters. And that while the public is invited to all of our meetings, they do not have the guaranteed right to address the committee like they do at the BZA. So it's a little bit different. Now, I mean, and just to be honest with you, we have always allowed other business to be presented at Planning Commission meetings. You cannot do that at BZA meetings. It has to be only what is on the agenda.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
But that being said, if we decided that we were going to have a drop dead date for the Planning Commission, that wouldn't hurt my feelings as well. But we could also, like, you know, we had the rezoning last month that just came a couple of days out, and it helped us be able to allow an industry to locate, you know, in Livingston that we would have had to postpone another month. So I don't have an issue with it on the Planning Commission, but I think we do need to set something. And it's not really, it's not the Planning Commission's job to set the drop dead date for the BZA, because we don't have any authority. I was just seeing if anybody...
That's why I was curious why you brought it up.
Well, I was seeing if anybody had any objections to it.
Well, too, Kelly, since we looked at this before, considered it, you know, and the agenda tonight was very lax, very much going on, so it's a good time for David to bring this in front of us, I think.
That's not what I meant, Mr. Chairman. What I was saying is I didn't understand why he brought up to the Planning Commission what he recommended that the BZA committee do. Does that make sense? But now I understand.
And a lot of times, Kelly, the the business of the Planning Commission and the BZA overlap, as Robert can tell you. He has to attend a lot of BZA meetings to sign plats after it's done, so, and if the meetings are not immediately following the Planning Commission, a lot of times Robert has to make a special trip up here, and I'm sure that would make his life a lot easier if we, kind of set the date as a firm fourth Monday following the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Thank each one of y'all being here tonight, and the audience too, kind of smile out there. Do y'all have anything to say at all tonight? Everybody good? Looks like they are. They're all smiling, I believe. Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn. I'll second that motion.
Motion by Ricky Mack, second by Robert. All for? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.